Hello, BookTube. Uh, I was having a really wonderful morning today. We had downpours of cold rain last night and lots of lightning, so my little dog, my little Frida, did not want to go outside. So she was ready to go out really, really early this morning, and we did, and it was wonderful and peaceful. And then she piled back into the bed in the little book room and slept like a log, and I did a lot of reading, and the morning's reading was very, very good. And I could listen the whole time to the world just coming alive, traffic, people, buses. Uh, and then later on in the morning, I taped tomorrow's episode of CPL Radio's Books of the Week. My producer Jeff and I once again had just a blast. I hope you enjoy the episode. We always have fun. Talked about an interesting array of books. And I had everything planned. I love planning the conversations that I'm going to have with my imaginary booktube friends. I make a pile of plans for the videos that I'm going to make. I don't always get to them all. Sometimes I look at a video that I've planned and think, I don't really feel like I'm in the mood for that, or I don't really have anything new or interesting to say about that. But it usually quickly piles up to 3 or 4 videos at least. And I did that this morning. And then I learned that Alice of the BookTube channel, Alice and the Giant Bookshelf, died. It feels like I watch a lot of BookTube, so time tends to compress. It feels like just a day ago that I watched her latest video, but in fact it wasn't. But that latest video was delightful. She had a warm, inviting channel. She was a warm, wonderfully adventurous reader. The type of BookTube channel you would go to if you were having a rotten day in order to feel better about your day. And in that video, she was talking about all the same constantly percolating, constantly bubbling bookish plans that we all have. What I'm getting from the library, what's on my TBR, what I'm planning on reading, how booktubers or booktube events might shape my reading. And none of that's going to happen. She's gone now. And I took Frida for a walk, of course, and I slipped out of the world of humans and English for a while. That was very helpful, but I haven't really been able to shake it all day. I've said to a number of you, and I've also said in videos, that inability to shake this off, that inability to just shrug, is the price we pay for making this community real. You get all the good parts, you get all the positives, but you get this negative. I wouldn't change that, but it's left me. I'm just looking at that pile of videos that I was going to make for Dune or Westerns or the Acts of the Apostles or Poetry Thursday. I'm looking at all those things and thinking, I just don't want to do it. But I didn't want to do nothing. So I figured at least I'm up for mail. We can do some mail. And maybe that will distract us both. Maybe so. There'll be new books. We'll just have to go on, right? So let's look at these and see what we have, and maybe talk about them a bit. And if this video doesn't seem like it's going to work, I just won't upload it. That's all. But I don't like it when I don't talk to you in a day, and I've been very flattered to hear from a number of you saying that you don't like it when I don't talk to you in a day. So we'll just try it and see what's of interest. So what is this first one? Okay, I talked to a publicist about this. This comes out in October, and it looks really interesting. I'm seeing now book blurbs from the Italian press. So this is a 2015 book. This is a new translation by the veteran Italian translator Anthony Sugar of Naples 1343, The Unexpected Origins of the Mafia, by Amedeo Feniello. So this deals with a fresh perspective on the early mafia as a means of resistance against invasion. So the year is 1343. There is a famine in Naples. After nightfall, a Genoese ship loaded with wheat is attacked by members of two local clans who brutally kill several sailors and their captain. The attackers return to the city, greeted by the cheers of their countrymen and the blind eye of the authorities. The Republic of Genoa presented the Kingdom of Naples with a formal protest against the incident, but in a historical document of great importance today, King Charles I of Anjou admitted he did not control his own city, that the true rulers of Naples were the family, in quotes. The purpose of this book is not to retrace the birth of the Camorra through the traditional roads of ethnology, anthropology, sociology, and even folklore for the umpteenth time. I don't know that I've ever read a book that did that. The author takes a new route through a number of previously unstudied elements and makes a unique observation. These families of Naples were in power at the time of the birth of the Angevin Kingdom of Naples, one of the first European nation-states. They would have been leaders of the new state, actively participating in the business of the royal family and serving as a new class of... Hi, baby. How you doing? Alice had a cat. Down you go. There you go. Okay, well, great. So, Renaissance history. The author bio, he's written a lot of books, and the author bio says that this is his first book to appear in English, Naples 1343. Okay, very, very interesting. Good, let's move on here. Let's just keep going. Sorry, if this gets unbearably awkward, I don't have to upload it, but I didn't want to just do nothing, just not be here. I've heard from a great number of you that don't like that. I'm very flattered by that. So, let's see what this next one is. Okay, this is a forthcoming installment. This is also October. In the Norton Shorts series, W.W. Norton has created a series of books that are very short. This is 192 pages out of basically 150 pages when you strip off all the dressing. Think the very short introduction series by Oxford. It's along those lines. This is by Matthew Lockwood, and it's called Explorers, A New History, in the Norton Shorts series. So it's a tiny thing, with a blurb by Eric J. Dolan, who has been on this. His books have been featured on this channel many times. Let's see here. The impulse to seek out new worlds is universal to humanity. In a truly inclusive account of exploration, historian Matthew Lockwood interweaves stories of famous figures, including Sacagawea, Pocahontas, and Dr. David Livingstone, with tales of individuals who are usually denied the title of explorer. Lockwood's new cast of adventurers includes Rabban Bar Samwa, a Uyghur monk who traversed the Middle East and Europe, Yatsuke, an East African traveler to Japan during the 16th century, and David Dorr, a man born in slavery whose travelogues reshaped Americans' understanding of Africa. Okay, so we're going to get normal figures. The three famous figures listed here are Sacagawea, Pocahontas, and Dr. David Livingstone. And I think if I asked any one of you to give me a list of the first 25 famous explorers who come to your mind, not one of those three would be on that list. And I think we know maybe part of the reason for that. I'd be willing to bet that the top 3 or 4 names of explorers that would come to your mind are forbidden to be written about in the 21st century as explorers. So they can't be in this book, except mentioned maybe critically. And I wonder if the American astronauts will be in here. But anyway, another work of history, also for down the line, also for October. Let's see. Let's move on to the next one. There are no boxes this time around. No package that's really big. So we'll just have to deal with smaller things here. Oh, okay. All right. This is from the folks at Viking. This also comes out in October, so I am filling out my October shelf. It's time for me to move shelves. It's time for me to go over to the work bookcase. assess what's what for the June books, and then clear off that top shelf and move July up, and take a look through everything, make sure I've got all the July books, and also take a list of what I don't have that I want, and get about that. But this is by Caitlin Rivers, and this is called Crisis Averted, The Hidden Science of Fighting Outbreaks. Do I have a sheet for this at all? No. Okay, we'll just read the back then. There are few visible markers of the accomplishments of public health. When epidemiologists do their jobs, nothing happens. An outbreak does not grow into an epidemic. A child does not go hungry. A would-be smoker never lights up. These achievements are rarely noticed or celebrated, but Caitlin Rivers lives for such victories. By making sure things don't happen, she and legions of scientists, practitioners, and policymakers change the course of history. We have many of the tools and experiences needed to prevent the next crisis, but countless challenges remain, including constantly emerging pathogens, the rapid growth of biotechnology, the inconsistent cycles of funding for government organizations such as the CDC. Yes, there's also another thing that's more powerful than all of those things put together, and that's one of the two major political parties in the world's most powerful country being against science, in favor of ignorance, and against any kind of vaccines for anything at all. If your local community requires the children to be vaccinated for measles, mumps, and rubella, well, we'll strip away your federal funding, and maybe we'll have some red-hatted thugs at your door to beat you with baseball bats wrapped in barbed wire. That's pretty important. That's as important as these other is inconsistent cycles of funding. But anyway, progress can be slow, but the unsung heroes in public health remain focused on their mission. This book tells their story. Okay, fantastic. Great. Well, I don't... Ordinarily, books like this, the path they tend to take is just the one that's described on the back cover here, where the author just gives you biographies, mini biographies of the scientists and epidemiologists and whatnot involved. And the problem with a book like this, whether it's this or any other kind of subject, is that those biographies are never as interesting as the author thinks they are. The author has spent months talking to these people. And usually they lose sight of the fact that the stories aren't interesting to the general reader. And a discussion of general issues of health and public safety awareness and campaigns and preventing things from happening would be more interesting to the reader. We'll see. We'll see what this does. This is the third October book in this pile, so I don't have to worry about any of these things right away. Let's see what this next one is. The next one is a finished copy, so it's bound to be more recent. Oh yes, okay, it is. Yes, okay. I've not only shown you this thing on this channel before, but I've also praised it to you. This will give me a perfect chance to praise it again, because it is terrific. Not for every reader. I don't think it's for every reader. It's nonfiction, first of all. That rules out 90% of readers, but also the subject matter. But let's take a look at this again, because I'm happy to talk about it again. This is by John Adams and Edmund Ramsden, and it is called Rat City: Overcrowding and Urban Derangement in the Rodent Universes of John B. Calhoun. Sounds very niche, but it ends up not being at all, and not about rats either. Very, very good stuff. In 1960s America, the city is in peril. Amid the vast new housing projects that rose from the dust of slum clearances, crime is flourishing and social order is breaking down. Was the modern city driving its inhabitants mad? Enter John B. Calhoun, an ecologist turned psychologist employed by the National Institute of Mental Health to model the effects of crowding on rats. And rats get a very, very bad rap in exactly this regard. In a search for food and other resources that cities can provide, they end up living in tightly compressed, gigantic colonies that are not their own first preference at all. They are basically slums. And it deranges their behavior. A rat who's not in that circumstance will not act like a rat who is. In a program of research that spanned 3 decades, Calhoun built ever more elaborate rodent utopias where rats' every need was met except space. As population densities within rat cities ramped up, social structure broke down, and the rats began to exhibit a vortex of psychopathologies that led inexorably to their violent extinction. What Calhoun called the behavioral sink seemed to mirror the criminality and civic unrest erupting across the nation, but centered on these gigantic housing developments. I know that this sounds awful niche. I've said this, I've encountered this a couple of times. This comes out in July, I believe. Yeah, this comes out in early July. I know that this sounds awful niche, but the two authors do a great job of it, and it is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Not just about that experiment and not just about rats, but about what happens when you do this to humans. What happens when they become socially deranged. I recommend it strongly. If you're leery of it because it doesn't seem like it's your cup of tea, then get your library to get it and give it a try. I think you'll find it very interesting. And then we'll deal with the last package here, which is the biggest, but it is light as a feather. It's as light as a single playing card. So I'm assuming it's a slim volume of poetry. Well, I mean, what else could be this light? What else? Let's see what we have here. I'll put that away. This is tiny, whatever it is. Oh, okay, no. No, this is lovely. Okay, I don't have a date for this thing. It's tiny, but it's not a slim volume of poetry. It's 50 pages long. It's going to be $15. This is by Mohammed Lefta, translated by Eleni Sikelianos. It's called Endless Fall, a little chronicle. And it's in this little paperback with the French flaps, and no pub sheet at all, nothing like that. So let's just read from the flap here. In Satat in the 1960s, when it was still a tiny village, a young man leapt to his death in front of his stunned class, and their teacher was left holding a brief, devastating suicide note. Among the students was Mohammed Lefta, the author. Haunted by the uncommon grace of that desperate act and the tragic image of his classmate's body lying in the courtyard, Lefta penned this chronicle of life at the time marked by repressed desire and shame. A fiery yet thoughtful meditation on taboo acts, homosexuality, adultery, suicide, and the hypocrisy of cruelty of those who judge others' transgressions, this book also offers a fascinating window into the mind of the seminal writer, who is a writer and journalist who was born in Morocco in 1946, so he's as old as dirt now. Attended engineering school in Paris, and then returned in 1972 to Morocco, where he became a literary critic for two newspapers that I have never read, never written for. And he's also written novels, and he died in 2008. Okay, so do we have a translator's note? Do we have an introduction? Good Lord, we don't. That author's story is every bit as fascinating as the book itself, and we don't have anything. Well, anyway, this is going to take 15 minutes to read, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't remember the date on it, but I will add it to the pile tonight. I may reread Rat City tonight as well. But that's all of the mail, and honestly, when it comes down to it, I may just do comfort reading all night long and not anything else, not anything new. We'll see. There's still a whole day left before I have to decide. But I wanted to make a video and touch base with you, but I also wanted to make a video to let you know why I'm not making a ton of other videos. Because I know a lot of you just, you wait for the bombardment. You do me the great compliment of waiting for the bombardment. It's not going to happen today. So I'll wrap this up for now, and with any luck, we'll talk tomorrow. Thank you, BookTube.